Hey, welcome back to the Gunpla Network. I'm Murdoch, and we're reviewing the high-grade Universal Century RGZ-95 ReZEL. But first, it's time for a segue to our sponsor. Sponsor for this review is none other than Canadian Gundam. Looking for that next kit or tool to complete your collection? Canadian Gundam's got you covered. With a vast selection of Gunpla, plamo kits, paints, and tools, you're sure to find what you're looking for. And then you have their flat rate shipping across North America and private warehouse options to work with. But wait, there's more. Take advantage of the discount code Gunpla Network for 10% off your entire order at checkout. Alright, lore dump time! The ReZEL actually stands for Refined Zeta Gundam Escort Leader. And unlike the RGZ, its spaceplane form is more derived from the Zeta 2 and Methus' transformation sequences. Don't worry, I'll be talking about that when I actually get to the physical model. One of the other cost capturing features is it shares a lot of parts and components with the now firmly established Jagan at this point in the UC timeline. You can tell the Federation really wanted to keep the concept of the Zeta alive and find easy and practical ways to keep a mass-produced version of it in service. The standard grunt version of this machine, which is also the model we're reviewing today, comes with the box unit backpack, whereas the winged unit is typically found on the commander and defensor types. The machine would not necessarily have the same kind of service record as, say, the Jagan, but we know it was in service at least as a training opposition machine and still as a fast attack unit until at least UC 116, as detailed in manga Fastest Formula. Alright, so let's talk about the elephant in the room when it comes to any high-grade kit of a transformable machine. Its articulation, and whether it's a true transformation or not. In terms of base articulation in robot mode, this kit actually impressed me a bit. The only joints that are kind of sacrificed for the transformation gimmick are its shoulder sockets and its ankles, wild as that may sound. I have a ZZ2 somewhere, and for all of its movable parts, it had almost too much going on in either state. The ReZEL here is in a goofy pose to demonstrate the kind of range of motion you can get out of it. It's worth noting that it can't do the splits simply because there's too much extra stuff in the way, but it can get pretty close. Unfortunately, this kit is a parts former, and in a bit I'll show you exactly what those extra parts happen to be. The good news is it's pretty solidly engineered. The worst I could see happening with it in spaceplane form is it basically, standard Zeta stuff, like the rifle falling off and maybe the shield, because, gravity. That stuff works after long enough. But that stuff's in there pretty snugly, so I don't expect that to happen anytime soon. In the spaceplane mode, the only actual leftover parts you have are the core torso, the head, arms, and this teal machine hides a convenient block for acting as a hardpoint for its hips. And with the appropriate stand and fasteners, it can be mounted as shown to give one the impression of being in flight. As for the transformation sequence, pretend I used air quotes there. There's a lot of disassembly and reassembly, and a couple of parts to keep those legs locked into position, but otherwise, just about all of it neatly locks into the mobile armor mode core block. So, as far as leftovers and extras go, what you see here is the sum total. The mobile armor core part, which honestly makes me curious as to how the Master Grade handles the transformation now. The shield, the two beam sabers with only one pink beam saber effect part, I get there was probably the reasoning of cutting costs somewhere, but like, really? Anyway, we also have the rifle, the shield, and the 2 other transformation locking parts for the legs. And that's it. It's a pretty tidy kit since just about everything can be on the model at any given time, with the exception of one of the right hands, a weapon, and the transformation parts. The build experience for this kit? I'll preface this by noting that if you're new to the channel, I'm one of a small cadre of reviewers here that is a massive Zeta fan, and definitely a nerd about most things concerning its lineage. So I might be a little biased. Consider yourself warned. In terms of the actual build, you do have to pay attention a little bit. Okay? Some parts definitely do belong to one side as opposed to the other, and it's not always clear without double checking. Such is one of the drawbacks of transforming kits. I also didn't bother with the color correcting stickers, although in my painting, 1 or 2 areas might have benefited from the use of them, but whatever, I've got the metallic pink paint, why wouldn't I use it? Given the complexity of the model's design, if you like panel lining, you might find yourself busy enjoying the process with just the sheer volume of surface details that are present. I guess now's a good time to talk about shelf presence. I pulled some of my models that might be more period correct for the collection to give an idea here. Sorry, none of my 1/144th scale unicorns are in any condition to have made the shot. They're both real grades, over the top, and finicky on a good day. And they did not want to cooperate. So we'll just have to settle for Bonager's Silver Bullet Suppressor instead. In terms of its contemporaries, namely the Jagan, yes, it stands taller. As you'll see in a minute, it's still more or less the same proportions in head height as the Zeta Gundam, but even it is dwarfed by machines like the Nu and the Silver Bullet Suppressor. What draws the eye here is, of course, its coloring. I don't have anything in teal on my shelves, with the exception of maybe Heavy Arms Custom, and even then, that's a few shades darker. Plenty of navy blues, varying shades of green, but nothing teal like this. Even the RGZ and RGZ Custom are kind of the same minty green as the standard Jagan, so there's no concern picking it out in a crowd. Just be sure it's not behind something that'll make its fairly impressive stature actually seem diminutive. As far as it posing with Daddy Zeta here goes, the design lineage is pretty clear. If I had a Methus, I would have posed it in here too. But as you can see, they're roughly the same size, and it wouldn't be weird if you decide to put all the machines of the design lineage together, and it wouldn't look out of place there either. Almost like a family reunion. So, final thoughts. This kit launched 15 years ago already, good grief, time flies, with an asking price of 2,000 yen. That has since fluctuated thanks to events since that time, but can still be found through legitimate retailers for something near that value. Again, I might be biased, but I love Zeta-derived kits and just stuff that can turn into planes. Yes, that includes Macross Valkyries, but they're a different animal. So my bias being in full effect here, the thing is just plain cool to look at. Its hard angles are almost everywhere, and its transformation gimmick isn't horrible, and there's even a tangible resemblance to Mega Man X in there. But X here is for a different video. Definitely worth getting this guy if you like your space plane capable mecha, or are just a fan of Unicorn or the Zeta series. Until next time, I'm Murdoch, and on behalf of the Gunpla Network, keep building.